4 majestic towers, representing 4 open books for all of Paris to read. This is the François Mitterrand Library, a satellite of France's National Library, also known as the BNF. In its 54,000 square meters of study rooms, researchers and readers work silently. 14 million books line the shelves here, alongside millions of other manuscripts, letters, prints and posters. It's a collection that's added to every day. At the heart of this fortress of knowledge sits the rare book department. 250,000 precious and old works, lovingly cared for by the library's expert team.
Not only do we check that the book is physically all there and that nothing's missing, but we also check its condition and make a full list of all the main repairs that need to be carried out.
The to-do list is certainly long for the library's many bookbinders and restorers who are busy in the basement of Tower Number 2.
It's definitely a gift. You can see it's dusty and that it's been poorly looked after. We have to take the whole book apart to dust it off, glue it, repair it, and then we'll have a flat pattern.
Just opposite, another restorer has been given a 16th century book to work on. It's the oldest that she's ever had to repair.
So this is typically how a book will come to us from the reserve, in a really bad condition. It was probably not looked after and stored in conditions that may have been moist, or where insects have chewed away at the paper.
Here you can really see the marks of insects.
These are known as wormholes, where a worm has gone through the entire book, an insect that loves paper.
75 highly skilled craftsmen are based at this site, but there are 220 in total across the entire National Library. They work tirelessly to recondition, strengthen and preserve those books that are simply too damaged to be looked through or displayed.
First of all, we fix the torn page edges by trying to find a few small beards of fibers that I can then lay on the paper. And once that's done, I add a very thin sheet of 6-gram Japanese paper to cover the entire torn area.
It's meticulous work, which varies from one book to another.
Restoration is not renovation. It's not about making the book brand new. Restoring is about respecting the object. It's a balance between the original work and its ability to survive over time. But then there are also works that are almost museum pieces, that will keep just as they are, in their juice, as we say.
One such unique work is this autographed manuscript of Victor Hugo's masterpiece, Les Misérables.
It was in a very poor state because of the iron gall ink that Victor Hugo was using. These inks pierce the paper. I fixed it with an extremely thin Japanese paper, a 5-gram paper, and by using an alcohol-based glue.
The bookbinders here also discovered by chance that Marius, Cosette's husband in the novel, was actually called Thomas before Hugo changed his mind. Opposite, Frédéric Pelletier is a specialist in the fine art of making Turkish marbled paper. It's a technique that was introduced in the West back in the 16th century to decorate the insides and the covers of books.
The magic part of this technique is the transfer of pigment onto the paper. You simply have to lay the sheet onto the surface of the bath so that the paper can drink up the colour and reproduce a copy of the pattern. Working with the National Library and having seen so many of these papers in their books has opened my eyes to a whole collection of patterns.
Whether it's about reproducing long-lost patterns or coming up with new designs at the request of the librarians, this colourful technique remains a closely guarded secret. In another workshop at the library, a team of 10 restorers are preparing a pile of old books to be scanned.
This is a manuscript of the Breviary of Poissy. The library has requested that its pages be digitized so that it can be read online by the general public. So we've removed the 16th century binding which prevented us from correctly scanning all these pages.
Once scanned, the book will go back to the workshop to have its original binding put back on, or if the library decides, a consultation binding, because even though it's now been scanned, the manuscript itself can still be requested for viewing. The final stage is the making of the binding for the spine, called the headband, as well as the gilded letters and the jackets for the cover.
I'm trying to use the existing holes, but it's not always that easy.
What do you like in your job?
Contributing to the life of each book. I like to think that each work has its own history, and I'm adding a little of mine to it.
An army of restorers have cared for the library's vast collection for decades. These guardians of France's national treasures work against time every day to ensure that the poetry, the prose and the pride stored in these books will hopefully live on in the future.